It's the dawn of 2024 and you're poised for success. Why? Because you've established your why. This isn't just a whim or a hobby. It's the passion that propels you forward, the core of your ambition. Next, you assess your current position. Where do you stand? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? Honesty is key here. Now, envisage your destination. What do you want to achieve by the end of this year? Set those goals. Make them smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. With your destination locked, it's time to map out your plan. Break down your goals into manageable steps, then start stepping. Remember, action without reflection is aimless. Record your results, analyze your performance, and adjust your plan accordingly. The path to success in 2024 isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Take meaningful action, keep your eye on the prize, and continually strive for improvement. Here's to a successful 2024.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Another fantastic Thursday morning, and today we have Glenn and Wilhelm with us. And guess what? It's Glenn's birthday. Happy birthday, Glenn!
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Hey, you can now go to Checkers and get a pensioner's discount.
That's a big one.
It is a big one, but you get 10% off or something special. So welcome to the pensioners group here.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that, guys.
The wisdom group.
Yeah, the wisdom group.
Cool.
Anyway, today what we're doing is we're going to have another day of fun. We're going to have an hour of fun here where we're going to talk about another subject. And this is actually a two-part series. So you need to listen next week as well to listen to the second part. So this week we're going to be talking about the art of selfless giving, embracing love, acceptance, and respect. And next week, and we invite you to join that, we'll be talking about cultivating compassion, understanding others, and enhancing personal growth. So that'll be next week on Thursday. So please come along and join us again. But this week we're going to talk about basically 5 elements regarding the art of selfless giving. And the first part will be recognize your emotional drivers. The next is the paradox of giving, then delayed gratification and feedback, self-reflection on expectations, and empathy and focus on others. Those are the subjects we're going to be talking about today. And obviously, you know, the idea of this, and some of you who've listened in already understand how it works. What we do is we have Glenn. Glenn's a Map for Life. He will introduce himself shortly. And he gives it from a Map for Life point of view. He gives his feedback and his discussion points from that point of view. Glenn is a energy life coach. And what he does is he looks at it from the energy point of view. And guess what I do? I look at it from a business point of view. So you get 3 perspectives on each of these subjects. And that's what the interesting part is. Obviously, we also host a physical workshop once a month, which is going to be on the 24th of February, Saturday at Casablanca. We invite you to come and join that. The link will be in the comments below. Come and join us. And we also do every day on Vision 2024 on LinkedIn and soon to be Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. What we'll be doing is posting daily stuff on there. So I will do something on a Monday. Glenn is going to do something on a Tuesday, and Wilhelm does something on a Wednesday. Obviously, Thursday is our day for the live show, and then Friday we have it's like a summary of the week. And so that's what we're going to be doing. So you're most welcome to join us, be part of the process, and obviously you come to our monthly workshops. So that's what we do. So today I'd like to first of all introduce the birthday boy. Glenn Lees-Jones is a Map for Life coach. He runs the Map Cafe, which is our physical meetings that we hold every Wednesday. So I'm going to hand over to Glenn so he can introduce himself. Greetings, Glenn. Happy birthday.
Thanks very much, David. Appreciate that. It's the month of love. This month in February, it's actually our wedding anniversary. We've been married 33 years. That was on the 2nd, my birthday, and I'm 60 Thursday today. And then, of course, we have Valentine's Day coming up soon as well. So it's really the month of love for me. But yeah, so I obviously am a life and business coach. I do also counseling and mentoring together with that. And I obviously use the tool called Map for Life. Been using it now for probably about, I think it's about 13 years. And really just seen some amazing changes in people. It's just been fascinating for me. And it's really my passion. And that's what I'm about. I'm excited about talking today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome, Glenn. Great to have you here today. And now let's hear from Willem Lombard, the energy coach. And he's going to talk about how love is. Over to you, Willem.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's an exciting day today. Weather is good, and I feel full of energy. So I hope you guys also have the energy. Energy is everything. You know, if you want to perform in life, you need some energy. And the lack of energy is directly proportional to where we go towards burnout and really lack energy and not doing what we want to do. So that's not where we're into energy. And energy consists of a different facets of your life, different energy tanks. I liked talking a lot about that and how you can energize yourself, what you need to do, because there are so many things that actually drain our energy nowadays, so many stresses, and we need to take care of those things. So I'm excited to be here and to chat to you about love and whatever you throw to us. Okay, so let's go for it.
Fantastic, fantastic. So as I said, today what we're going to be talking about is the art of selfless giving, embracing love, acceptance, and respect. And obviously, these are certain drivers, emotional drivers that actually drive us to how we feel and how we actually portray ourselves amongst others. And this is really, a really important aspect, specifically in our transformation of ourselves within our journey that we want to be a better person, a better version of ourselves by the end of 2024. So this is our aspect. This is what we do every week. We talk about different aspects and different subjects, and we bring this to you. Now, the first one that we want to talk about is recognizing your emotional drivers. You know, understanding that love, speaking of love, Valentine's Day, anniversaries, all those things, acceptance or respect might be your hot button. Now, obviously, some of us have different hot buttons. And I'm going to ask Glenn to start, since he's a birthday boy, to tell us a little bit about the importance of these various things. You know, and I want to talk about specifically maybe, you know, talking about love and so on, you know, and it's going to be his anniversary, is about, you know, the marriage contract, how that affects you. And, you know, Glenn, over to you.
Thanks so much, David. I appreciate it. Yeah, you know, I think at the outset, I want to say this, is that oftentimes people go into a marriage and they think that it's just going to be hunky-dory all along. And it isn't the case. You know, I've been married 33 years. We've had some challenges, but we really have a great relationship. And at the end of the day, it's about respecting each other. It's about listening to each other. It's about communication. And just a whole bunch of things that go together with that marriage. It's really being partnered with someone and walking a journey with that person. I just think from my own perspective, I think, and not just about the marriage contract or the marriage itself, but in work situations, whether you're just driving in a car, no matter what it is, it's about respecting others, respecting what they do, what they say. And for me, also, one of the most important aspects is the communication, is actually really listening to someone. I see so often when I'm dealing with people, when I'm talking to them, and I can just see they're not there. The lights are on, but there's no one home. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm really being serious. It's unfortunately a skill that you have to learn, because people will be talking to you and you're thinking about something, but you haven't got a clue what they're talking about. You've got your thoughts, and that's it. That's what counts. And you want to bring that thought across. And you need to actually cut that off. You need to really begin to listen to people and what they're saying, and have respect for what they're saying and what they're doing. And then actually acknowledge from that perspective. You don't have to necessarily agree with them. But the fact of the matter is, respect is such an important aspect. And just coming back to that question of the emotional drivers, one has to be very, very careful about the emotions, that they don't overpower in terms of anything that you do. And I want to just tell a quick story. I know a gentleman who is brilliant at business. He's got a mind like incredible, just really fascinating. He comes up with the most amazing ideas, and also married, long time, everything going well, no problems. But put that man behind a car or inside a car and put him on the highway, and he becomes like a Jekyll and Hyde. I was sitting in the car with him one day and traveling, and someone happened to just pull in front of him. And it wasn't this major issue. They just cut in front of him slightly, and it wasn't a big deal. But he absolutely flipped his lid, literally to the point of chasing the guy and half pushing him off the road and swearing and cursing at him. And I thought to myself, how sad is that? That you will allow those emotional drivers to actually drive you to that extent in the wrong aspect. Then we can turn it around to the other side of the scale, and we can say we need to use those emotional drivers to leverage to move us forward in the right direction and to attain the goal. Simple example, saying to yourself, there is nothing that is going to stop me in terms of achieving my goal. There is nothing that's going to stop me in terms of achieving the vision that I have. I will go for it and I will do it, and have that kind of emotion to move you forward. And that comes in with the energy that Willem talks about. So I think that gives you a general idea of where I'm at and what I talk about, what I discuss about this. And I think let's move from that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Glenn. Thank you. Well, Helen, from your point of view, these hot buttons that are in, every single person has a different hot button. Obviously, we're all unique. But from an energy point of view, maybe you could just discuss with us a little bit about, these different energy drivers, these hot buttons, each of us have, and the importance of actually identifying what your own hot button is. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you, David. Yeah, you see, you mentioned so many things now, Glenn, and thinking from a life energy perspective, the first place, emotions are very, very powerful. I mean, you mentioned the fact of that friend of yours, a very smart person, clever, everything, but he lost it because of emotions, because of anger at that very moment. So your emotions absolutely overpower rational thinking, and that's what happened. On the other side, you mentioned the fact of respect, you mentioned communication. The very first thing that shows when you start lacking energy is communication. You can't really communicate. You don't listen to others. You just say whatever you want to say, and then you often walk out of a meeting and you can't remember what you've said and what was actually the conversation about. And that are all signs of burnout or serious stress. And it happens in the workplace as well, where you can't communicate effectively with your workers, for instance, with the clients. Over these many years, we should have been professionals in communication, but it's still the biggest problem. Still, people get divorced, families broke up, there's problems with clients and whatever because of bad communication. And I've seen it. Last week, I was at different specialists, very highly qualified doctors and all those people, with my wife concerning her eye and so on. And I've realized there's no communication. Those guys, we were even booked into a hospital for some tests and everything. And we started with our booking in session 6:00 in the evening, and we end, she get into bed at 12:00 that night, after 12. And throughout that evening, there was almost no communication. I mean, if these people just said to us, listen, it will take you so much time and this is what we are going to do, whatever, but there's no communication. And there's nothing wrong mentally with people. Their skills are good. They know their job, but they don't know how to communicate. And the problem is, if you lack energy, it's very difficult to have compassion for people, to respect people. It's very difficult because you're just not into that. And we must always remember, if you lack energy, if there's a lack in your heart, the vibe that you actually send out, people can feel that before you even talk to them. And many leaders find it very difficult to get their teams aligned with their vision and get them going because there's no connection. And it's very difficult to connect if you lack energy. That's why it's so important. And the biggest energy draining factor in our lives is stress. 90% of people don't know how to manage stress effectively. They don't. You need to become a master of stress. I believe it's the number one skill that you can learn today. The other skills people have, but they don't have this. Exactly what you point out. The moment when you drove and there was some incident on the road, it was stress taking over. And he went into a fight or flight mode. He forget about rational thinking and he did the weirdest thing that you can ever think of. So that's the reality of life. And it happens every day with every one of us. And it's getting worse and worse than ever before. Stress is a never-ending story. We will always be bombarded by that. And I think one need to master that effectively. Then everything can change for you. That is the difference between a survivor and a high performer, and somebody that really move up and become a success and significant in life. That's from my side so far.
Thank you so much for yes, communication obviously a huge factor in all these things. So coming back to the hot buttons, obviously identifying your hot button is a really important aspect, and specifically in relationships. And relationships is what it's all about. And I'm not talking about just with your loved one, I'm talking about with everybody. And one of the things, I read a book called The Love, actually, just help me with the name. It's The
Love Languages. Love Languages by Gary Chapman.
So that's it. Thanks, Glenn. So now in that book, basically, he talks about 5 different love languages. And identifying which one is yours is really, really important. And you can go onto the website and have a look, and you can actually do that program. If you go onto his website and have a look, you can actually do it and actually identify which of the 5 is the most powerful. And there's always a number 1 and number 2 and number 3, and then the less one. So, for example, acts of service is one of them. Quality time is another one. Touch, another one. And obviously words of affirmation. And today we're going to be really talking about gifts. But each one of these is a touch point. It's a hot button within yourself. And, being Valentine's month, I really suggest that you identify your partner's love language. Go along and identify what their love language is. Because guess what? Your relationship will improve hugely if you identify what they are. And just remember, one thing I had to learn in my life was that there's 2 types of love languages, right? It's the one that you give and the one you like to receive, and they're not necessarily the same. I made a huge mistake in a previous relationship where her love language to me was gifts, giving me gifts, right? And the love language that she wanted back to receive back was words of affirmation. Now, the problem with that relationship was gifts were not my hot button. Okay, acts of service are my hot button. So when you do something for me, then it's fantastic, right? But giving me gifts, not really important. So she was giving me all these gifts, and I was like thinking to myself, oh, her love language is gifts. because she gave me gifts, but I was totally wrong. Her love language was words of affirmation. So guess where that relationship went? It went nowhere. So don't make the same mistake as I did. But talking about gifts, let's move to the next subject. Now, obviously, gifts are, we talk, I was part of the BNI Business Networking International. One of the things they talk about very strongly is they talk about gifts, right? And they talk about givers gain, givers gain. So the whole aspect of givers gain is to, give to other people, give them service, give them your time, so that they actually feel, a better relationship with you, and obviously then they'll return it. So that brings us to the next point, the paradox of giving. Acknowledge the true giving means not expecting anything in return. Now, yesterday in my motivational post, every Monday I put a motivational post out, I spoke about a quote: generosity blooms from the heart, not just the hands. And I think that's a really, really important aspect, because, when you actually give something, expecting something in return from them, it's actually not coming from your heart. You need to give it because you want to give it, and not expecting anything back. I want to ask Wilhelm to talk about the energy of this, because this is really an important part of the whole aspect of in this whole act of selfless giving. Wilhelm, would you like to enlighten us a little bit more about the energy exchange regarding the acts of giving from the heart in respect of and the difference between giving it just from a net because you want something in return? Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, David. First, I want to say I think there's a lot of men now, and I hope they are still on this call, that would think, what crap are you talking about? Love and languages and all this stuff. That's a reality. Men usually are not so much into the love thing. It's an effort for us. We need to do it. We need to work on love. Women, they are lovable. They love. They got that in abundance. But we need to work on it, and that's why it's so important in relationships. You need to pour the water of love, and if you want your wife to flourish, for this wonderful rose to bloom. And so that's very important, and that's energy. It asks energy from your side to be able to give that love, and to say that more than you want. Lots of men say, I've told my wife the day when I got married that I love her, and it still stay into power until the day I change it. No, you need to water that flower. Every day you need to tell her that you love her. And as I said, the important thing is often, and we must remember the heart. The heart is a very powerful source of energy. And there's much more to the heart than people think. It's not just a pump. In fact, the heart was developed before the brain developed. So the heart is quite important, and there's an energy field around you, and that's not the aura thing. And people can feel your heart. Just for interest's sake, they once did get some people, they did complete a questionnaire, everybody on their own, and then they put them into a room, and they just needed to walk past one another, not saying one word, and then get partners, get a partner. And the interesting thing, afterwards they check it, and everything that's on the questionnaire, those people, without chatting to one another, actually connected to one another perfectly, because there was communication, heart communication. And I find often nowadays that people's heart communication is not what it actually should be anymore, because we are under stress, as I've mentioned. And it's more you can see it even on a EKG. What's it? What's the EKG? That thing. You are muted. EGA.
ECG.
Okay. ECG.
Electrocardiogram.
Now you can see that. You can see exactly when people are stressed. We call it a heart rate variant. So you can see it. And although you put a face on, a mask on, and you say, no, everything is fine, I'm happy, I love you. If that vibe, that frequency that you send out is not correlating with your words, people feel that. And that's why sometimes you are irritated, you are busy, you are focused, because men are usually much more focused on whatever goal they want to achieve than women, because they are more into relationship building. But I generalize now. But the thing is, if you want to speak beautiful, soft words, but your heart is not in sync with that, they feel it. And then men often doesn't understand what's wrong with my wife now, or what this the woman, because because you pretend and they feel it. So it's so important to understand that and to work on that, to get that skill, so that your heart energy is of such a kind that it really portrays who you want to be. It must be in sync with your heart. It's very important, and that's a skill. We need to. Well, I work for 6 weeks to help people to get that that heart energy right, and to get their stress levels as low as possible, to get them to manage stress, to master stress effectively, because only then you can perform on all levels, not just work, not just sports, everything, love, every place. You need to be able to manage your stress effectively.
Thank you, Wilhelm. Yeah, I must say, during the workshop that we do on the 24th of February, we're going to actually give you a whole lot of tools to actually manage that stress. And one of the things Wilhelm will be doing is sharing some of his techniques that he uses to actually do that. So, it's excellent. I actually apply those actually on a daily basis to de-stress myself and to get myself into a better space. And I'm actually now, by using his techniques, I've actually gone to space of actually, like, as soon as I recognize that I'm going into a stress mode, I can immediately apply it. And actually then it really helps me to change. And actually this morning, I had exactly that situation with I was in the traffic and I was late to drop my daughter off at school. And then there was this guy, he just wouldn't let me in. And I was like, I could feel that stress mode coming in place. And suddenly I caught myself. I said, okay, and I applied what Wilhelm teaches us at the workshop. And I was okay. I was happy again and chat to my daughter. And I didn't have that same situation that Glenn just spoke about with that guy who had the road rage. And I was able to stop myself and say, no, behave, don't do that, and get back into a better space. And it was just magical. So if you want to learn that, come to the workshop. Glenn, let's hear from you what you think about the paradox of giving and the acknowledgement of actually true giving means not expecting anything in return. Over to you.
Absolutely. I have an excellent statement, obviously, from a very good book, which is a bestseller, by the way. It's called a Bible. It's give and you will receive. And it's such a fascinating concept. I was actually chatting this morning to some people on another Zoom meeting and talking to them about this concept of, are we conforming or are we transforming? And what I'm trying to get to over these is that oftentimes we conform to things that people do that are actually not good. And one of the things is what we're talking about right now is if we give something, we always expect something in return, because that concept of return on investment with business, which is fine, there's nothing wrong with that. The issue is, if you're going to give a gift, that's what it is. It's a gift, you give in it. So don't expect anything in return. If you get something in return, fantastic. That's wonderful. That's a great thing. But to really understand that concept of giving without actually receiving something back, What's interesting is when we work with the Map for Life, we work in various areas of life, and specifically around personal life, and then in terms of business. In business, we often talk about CSI, corporate social investment. And a lot of companies are doing that. But again, the issue is, what are they actually getting in return? Are they doing it simply because of tax? Are they doing it simply because they want to create this image? Or are they actually doing it from a heart attitude, which is exactly what Vladimir was talking about and getting to that point, really that heart attitude. From a personal perspective, one of the areas that we look at is what we call social investment. And again, when I explain this to people, I say to them, it's about that concept of you giving something to the community, or you're doing something in the community, or doing something out there that's not going to give something back to you. That you're not getting money for it, you're not getting a return on investment or nothing to that effect. You're literally just giving something and not expecting return. That could be like, oftentimes I would go out with some people and we'd go out into the middle of Pretoria and go and help out and give blankets and give jackets to people and give Bibles to them and all kinds of things like that. Other times we go out and we plant trees and do things like that. So I don't get anything for that. It's my time, it's effort, and it does. It takes a lot of time. Literally, a whole Saturday morning is gone. But the issue is the benefit of seeing the change in people's lives and what it does for them. I don't believe you can put money to that. I really don't. It just absolutely fascinates me, the satisfaction that I get of doing things like that. And I think if we can get to that point where we can all start doing this on a regular basis, I really believe it will make such a massive change, not just in this town, but not in just in this Gauteng, not just in this country, not in just this Africa, but across the entire world. It needs to be something that we need to get to, this concept of give and you will receive. Okay, but at the same time, don't just give to receive. Give because you want to give. The receiving will come as a natural result of that. I can guarantee it, because I've seen it happen time and time again in my life. I've said enough. That's me. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Glenn. And you know what you just said actually reminds me of the big word called karma. I'm sure you've heard of it. Karma. You know, what comes around goes around, and this is a very important aspect that one needs to actually remember. And I've actually, you know, experienced karma in my life. And it's, you know, the thing is, and this brings us to the third point, is delayed gratification and feedback. Realizing that while feedback may not be immediate, it's inevitably circles back to you. And it may not circle back to you in the same form. It will maybe something different, but it does come back. And, you know, it's actually fantastic to think about this, because, you know, one of the things I learned early on in life, and it was actually my grandfather who taught this to me, or said this to me. He said, you know, if someone does something to you, either good or bad, remember that it will come back to them. And it's not your place to actually perhaps give it back to them. And he gave me an example, and this is very powerful. Say if something, and I'm talking about maybe in the negative now. Say if someone does something to you, like calls you a name, and you go along and you call them back a name. By calling them back a name, you've just justified to them why they called you the name. But if you went along and you didn't actually call them a name, and maybe said something back good to them, then you've left them with a hole. They've done something that's maybe not good, and there's been no justification from your side in actually for them to actually have said that to you. You haven't given them the cause, or the right cause, to have said, yes, I actually called him that because he called me this. And you say something good back to them. The power of that is absolutely amazing. And it's the same thing that now, when you give something, don't go along and expect that person maybe to give it back to you, but it will come back to you in another way or form, right? This is really a powerful concept. And it does work. It's not just fluffy stuff. It does work. And I'd like Glenn maybe to talk around that. Over to you, Glenn.
Thanks, David. Again, I'll do a quote from the good book, and that is, "You reap what you sow." And again, it's a principle in life. Whether you want to believe it from the Bible or not, it's a principle in life. It works. It's like gravity. Gravity works. If you don't believe it, believe me, try and jump off a building, you'll find that gravity works very quickly. So you reap what you sow. And in terms of that reaping, it could be things that you speak and say, and it might not even be for someone else. It could be for yourself as well. The amount of things that we speak and say about ourselves from a negative perspective on a daily basis is actually quite frightening. If you really consider, and that's why I was talking about this morning about that concept of, are you conforming or transforming? One of the issues that we speak about in the talk that I give on this particular aspect is that concept of, what are you saying on a daily basis about yourself? Oh, I can't do this. I'm an idiot. Why did I do this? How could I be so stupid? And, we're doing this all the time to ourselves. You reap what you sow. And often people will look at me and go, "Oh, come on, Glenn, that's just something that I said." Well, you'll be surprised. There's a whole aspect around it that I can get into as well. I'm not going to go into too much detail at the moment. That's a whole nother talk. But the bottom line for me is that it's such an important aspect that you reap what you sow. And when you're dealing with people, you've got to be extremely careful about the things that you say to them as well. Here's another aspect. And I talk about the so-called taking of offense. We actually say in the English language, you take offense. And that's exactly what it comes down to. You take it. You do not have to take it. It's a choice. So if someone gets you upset, don't take the offense. Don't get upset as a result of it. And do exactly what David spoke about. Heap burning coals at them. Give them a compliment. And throw it back at them from an opposite perspective. What I talk about, working in the opposite spirit. So if someone tells me and talks to me and says something bad to me, I go, "Thanks, man, appreciate it. But you know something? Be blessed." And I'm not talking about blessing him with a brick. Okay. It's that whole concept of making sure that you don't take that offense. Because if you do, this is what it's like. It's like taking poison and expecting someone else to die when you're actually drinking it. I mean, it's crazy, but that's exactly the point. Don't take offense, and rather forgive and release and move on. The amount of pressure and stress that you have to go through in terms of that unforgiveness, and from a spiritual perspective, the sickness and disease that it will cause in your body is just not worth it. And again, that's a whole other aspect, a whole other talk. I want to go down that road. Valena will also talk about a lot to do with the energy from that perspective as well. Extremely important. So that's me. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you very much. Wilhelm, tell us a little bit from the energy point of view, as Glenn mentioned now.
I'm so energized and excited about this. When you talk about this, you mentioned the fact that to do good to other people, it will come back to you. In just thinking about a smile. If you smile, people smile back. They always smile back. So we sometimes, yes, we need to sow the seed. You don't sow seed in the morning and in the afternoon you reap. Sometimes there's a season. It will take some time. But there's lots of things that will have immediate gratification. You will get it back. It's like the smile thing. And it's energy that you send out. I sometimes get to businesses and places and there's not even a smile. It seems as if I always say, okay, I shouldn't say it, but I always say it seems they sit with a, dog poo under their noses and they got this face. And I don't know why they suffer so much, but there are reasons. The point is what you've mentioned in all this, Glenn, are all scientifically proven. Everything. You can prove it by science. If we just believe what the Bible says, it's the shortest, easiest road, and that's wonderful. But we don't believe it anymore. We are too clever to believe. But okay, for those that don't believe easily, it can be proven. It's scientifically everything. So what you've also mentioned about the fact that you do something, not expecting something back, but you enjoy it. It fills your tank. It fills your energy tank. And whatever, when you expect something back, it means you are actually doing something that drain your energy. It's not the right thing to do. It's not part of your value system, maybe. That's why there are some energy drainings. So, but if you do something without expecting anything back, that's actually the right things that you do, because that fill your tank. Speaking to that people, helping those people, sharing some good news with them, it will take you a whole Saturday, and after the whole Saturday you might be very tired and it was a tough day, but you feel so good because your energy tank is filled. Although your physical tank might be a bit drained because it was hard work the whole day, standing in front of people, talking to people, that take energy. But your spiritual tank, for instance, will be filled, and so on and so on. So there are different energy tanks, and all of those tanks play a significant role in your life. And as soon as we start to understand that and understand how to unlock those tanks, like that guy you've mentioned on the road, the moment when that anger kicks in, he actually closes the mental tank and he couldn't think straight. He couldn't think what he's actually doing, and he was slanting his name with a plank. Because of that, you disrespect him in a way now, and you will think twice to drive with him again because of that way. I also got a friend like that. It's unbelievable. Very high up CEO of a company. He's a brilliant person. Lots of people underneath, but the emotional intelligence is non-existent, and it's very bad for the business actually, and for clients. And I think that is what we are also going to talk about. No, I know we are going to talk about those things the 24th, to just help people to become more wise in their thinking, more emotionally intelligent, more understanding the very important thing of life energy intelligence, how you need to manage your energy. The moment when you are able of doing that, your performance will go through the roof, and your team's performance will go through the roof, and you will get back what you actually sow into your team or wish for, because that seeds will grow. But if you sow seeds of negativity and they don't do their work and this and this, whatever things, as I said, with that poo under your nose, you just walk around there, this strict person, and there's no energy that you give, you will not get the energy back. People will do as little as possible just to stay out of trouble. To unlock the potential in people, to get the energy, is to open those energy tanks so that they will do that even if you don't pay them, because they love whatever they are doing. And then it will be another ball game. The energy will be different towards the clients and the colleagues around you. And there will not be negativity, negative emotions like resentment and this and that and what. If all those things start to play in or to drain your energy, that's where there's no respect, where you just sit there and get this day over and not enjoying a moment of that. Just get your pay at the end of the month, and so it goes for years in, years out. What a waste of life, because we got only this one life. Why don't we take the responsibility for our life and do the best that we can? Last time I've mentioned the fact, the moment when you blame the situation, you actually take all your energy away, all the energy of the rest of the team away. And what must you do? Just take the responsibility and say, whatever is happening, I'm responsible. I'm responsible. What am I going to do about it? And that can change everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilhelm. Great. Wow. Phew, I can see you're really passionate about this subject, and it is passionate because it's about energy, and that's what Wilhelm does. So thanks for that. Thanks for that energy there, that energy boost. I see we're all drinking water. Water is a really good thing. You're all going to drink water. Apparently, it's 2 or 3 liters per day. I don't. I'm not actually achieving that, but I'm trying. And that doesn't include coffee and tea, by the way. So there's a little bit contribution to my 2 liters per day. Thank you very much. So that brings us back to self-reflection on your expectations. Now, obviously, if this process is not working for you, right? You're giving, and you're not receiving. What you need to do is do a little bit of introspection, and you must have a look at what are your hidden expectations. Because obviously, if there are hidden expectations of receiving something for someone else, it's not going to really work because, as I said, you need to give from the heart, not just from the hands. And this is a really important aspect because you know what? There's always something hidden in the background. Why do you do this? Well, maybe it's because I want that. And it's if you can understand why you're doing something, and if there is a why, you know, and you expect something back, then this whole thing about gifts, the art of giving, doesn't actually work. So I'd like Glenn just to talk a little bit about that. Over to you, Glenn.
Thanks, David. When you speak like this, I actually think of a story about what is known as the Chinese bamboo tree. And I'm sure we've all probably heard this before, that you plant this thing, the seed, and you actually water it and nurture it, and you continue to do this for 5 years. And in the 5th year, this thing grows 90 feet in something like, I think it's 8 weeks or 6 weeks or something like that. And so the question is always, did it grow in those couple of weeks, or did it grow over that total time period? And the issue is it grew over the total time period. What am I trying to get to here? When I speak about you reap what you sow, oftentimes, and Wilhelm mentioned this, you don't necessarily get it immediately in terms of anything receiving back. Oftentimes, we have to sow and sow and sow and sow, either into people's lives or into work situations or into your marriage, whatever it might be. And it sometimes takes time. I've so often seen before, in terms of a lot of the counseling that I do with people, specifically around children, where parents will do a lot of things for their children and their children seem to go off the rails all the time. But I keep on saying to them, don't give up. Just show them love and continue to work at it, continue to give, continue to sow. Obviously, to a degree, you can't just let them go crazy. There's got to be discipline as well. And that goes for your work situation, with anything and everything, as far as that's concerned. There's got to be discipline as well. But the fact of the matter is, the amount of times that people have continued to work at this and work at this and work at this, time and time again, those children come back. And so that love is so important. That aspect of giving without expecting any return is really such an important aspect. And we need to be doing this on a daily basis. We really need to be applying these principles. I just received another phone call now to actually go and counsel and coach a young boy. And fascinating, the immediate reaction in my mind was, I need to actually charge this amount. And I sat back and I thought, someone, I'm actually not going to do that. I just felt in my heart, I'm not going to do that for this particular child. I'm going to do it as a freebie. I'm just going to give. And whatever happens, happens. And that's not about blowing my own trumpet or anything to that effect. It's just that's what I sensed. And I think oftentimes we need to listen to that sense and go ahead and do things like that. Because again, you will reap what you sow. It will come back to you. I'm telling you now, it will. Principle. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely, Glenn. They talk about energy tanks, and Wilhelm talked very much about this, but there's actually 3 aspects that one has to remember. There's the head, the heart, and the gut. And you've got to listen to all 3. Very, very important. Because obviously, a lot of times you will do something and then you'll feel it, and not in your heart, not in your head, but in your gut. And you need to really take and be aware of that. Wilhelm, would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, David. I always talk about the head, the heart, and the hand. But yeah, because if you want to do something, maybe you rationalize and you think about whatever you want to do, and it's so important that, or maybe you rationalize and you say, but this is the right thing to do. I know it. It work out on paper and whatever. It's almost like, I've never heard people that said, I don't want to be successful. Everybody want to be successful, but not everybody is successful. What's the reason? What's the problem there? It is because they don't feel like it. And feelings are in the heart. And that's where the energy is. If you don't feel like it, that's why I always say you can't really change the way you feel by thinking differently. You need to feel differently. And there's an art of getting that. And then it will work through to the hands and you will do whatever. So if the hand, the head, the heart, and the hands are in sync with one another, it will be a success recipe. But it's all energy. And because of life and the again the stress of life, we miss that. And I also ask people, go, maybe you as a CEO of a business, or then just a family member, stand a little bit back and look at your business, look at your family, and see what is the energy there. Is it positive or negative, or very much dooierig, dead, neutral, nothing? You know, you come back home and nobody says a word, and you can feel the draining effect there. And that's why lots of people rather want to be at work, or vice versa. People hate every moment, but they need to work, but they can feel it's just draining their energy. And I mean physical, not just physical, but mental, spiritual, emotional. All those energy tanks are drained because of this environment where you are. And I can't change you. I can only change me. And that's where it should start. And that's why, as I've previously mentioned, we often point the fingers, but we forget that there are a few fingers pointing back. So that's where we start. I need to change my attitude before I can change your attitude. Only then I can influence you with my energy and you will be changed. You know, we often sit with people when they come into your office, you just say, ugh, not this person again. And they drain your energy. Or sometimes you get that people that come into your environment and it's like a fresh breeze of air, and you just feel the energy, you feel the vibe, and it uplifts you. So who are you? Are you one of those energy drainers, or are you giving energy to people? And it's very, very important, because if you are an energy drainer, you need to take the responsibility for your life and do something about it. Don't just blame and hope for the best. It won't change. You need to change for things to change.
Thank you very much, Willem. Thank you very much. Glenn, do you want to just wrap up from your side, and then I'll do a final wrap up?
Fantastic. Thanks, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Always great to chat and just discuss things in general like this. Such important aspects. And oftentimes I think specific us as men, we think this is a whole bunch of fluff. We don't need this in our lives. Let's just go out and work and get the job done. But this so-called fluff is extremely important. Again, it comes down to that abundant life. The fluff is important. And so let's get together on the 24th. You must really seriously make a plan to be there. Great venue, great food, and great company. What can I say? And I think you'll really learn a lot. And you can take those principles and apply it in your business, in your personal life, etc. It can make a massive, massive difference in your life. Be there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Glenn. Absolutely. I can't reiterate more. It's really important. The workshop that we had in January was really powerful. You know what? It's not a situation of just coming to the workshop, because what we do at the workshop, we create a WhatsApp group. And then that WhatsApp group becomes your accountability partner for the rest of the year. So it's not just a once-off scenario where we leave you. You come and then you attend and then you go. What we do is then provide you with support, ongoing support for the whole year. So it's not just a once-off scenario. So please join us. So next week we're going to do part 2. Part 2 is going to again be the cultivating compassion, understanding others, and enhancing personal growth. Come and join that. Again, it's divided into a number of parts, and we'll be discussing each of those parts. So don't miss out on next Thursday. It's 8 o'clock. SA South African time. So come and join us, and it's very easy. LinkedIn, and we'll also be on YouTube and Facebook. So come and join us. It's really great to have you here. So I'd like to just say happy birthday to Glenn. Have a great day, Glenn. And thank you, Wilhelm, for being here. And I'm going to end off with the video, and we'll see you next week. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And cheerio and listening.
Picture this. It's the dawn of 2024 and you're poised for success. Why? Because you've established your why. This isn't just a whim or a hobby. It's the passion that propels you forward, the core of your ambition. Next, you assess your current position. Where do you stand? What are your strengths, your weaknesses? Honesty is key here. Now envisage your destination. What do you want to achieve by the end of this year? Set those goals. Make them smart. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. With your destination locked, it's time to map out your plan. Break down your goals into manageable steps, then start stepping. Remember, action without reflection is aimless. Record your results, analyze your performance, and adjust your plan accordingly. The path to success in 2024 isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Take meaningful action, keep your eye on the prize, and continually strive for improvement. Here's to a successful 2024.